And welcome back to the Kinokast, where I am here with another prologue to the fucking podcast that will soon be full length with interviews of people, places, and or things. I'm not even sure if this one is gonna go up on the channel. The first one hasn't even yet. I'm still waiting on one more picture, and I need to think of a good intro and outro for the podcast. Want to be professional and all that. I guess right now I'm just talking because I have nothing else to do. But I'm not sure. Am I gonna have to write scripts? Obviously not full scripts, but I should definitely write down ideas of things I want to talk about and topics I want to cover on these podcasts, right? I can't just go into it all willy-nilly like you could with a podcast for interviewing a person, right? Because if you're interviewing a person, then they will supply you with good back and forth. If you're just talking by yourself, then you're going to need to have an idea and a topic that you want to talk about for a certain length of time. When my full podcasts start out with the full length, possibly, half an hour to an hour long, who knows, I want to always be interviewing somebody. At this point, or at that point I should say, when I get to interviewing real people all the time, it'll probably turn into something of a weekly show. If not weekly, then twice a week, whatever I can do. Something else that I should do, and I should think about this right now, is contact people who I could possibly interview and say, hey, at some point in the future, would you want to be on my podcast? That way, I can have a good number of people booked up and on call ready for the interview. At that point, if I want to interview someone, I should probably let them know a week in advance. So I'd be booking people up at the very least a week in advance. That means at any given time, there could possibly be a minimum of, let's say, 2 people waiting to be interviewed. That way, I'm on a schedule, I'm never rushing to find somebody, and things can run smoothly. After that point, I'm not sure. Should I interview them about their lives? Definitely, to some extent, about their lives and who they are. But is it really going to be an interview type of thing? Or is it going to be more, I ask them questions about who they are and what they do, just so the audience can have a good idea of what they do. And then we just talk about whatever it is we're thinking, whatever it is we want to talk about. I think I'd probably go that route, although I wouldn't want to delve too close into the Duncan Trussell realm. Although, I can't exactly be comparing myself to Duncan Trussell. But I'm trying to stay as far away from him as possible, so I can't, whatever. But I don't know. Does that even matter? I don't even know. I need to figure this out. Which is why I'm recording this right now. Since, these prologues are supposed to help me get better at talking off the cuff while being recorded, knowing what to talk about, and just having mic presence in general. Because right now I can tell you, from looking back myself, I definitely do not have any mic presence. I have too many pauses. I think my speech is a little slurred, and all that. Not to mention, I have a lot of pauses in my speech, and for a podcast, I listen back. It turns out my pauses are a lot longer than I thought they were, and that's going to be an issue. Because if my brain can't tell me how long my pauses are, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. I can always edit it out in the Audacity portion of my preparing. But I don't want to have to cut out too much because I want it to sound as real and organic as possible. So the only solution there is to work as best I can at talking off the cuff, not thinking about it, just speaking. So if that's the case, then I need to also make sure I always have something to talk about. I think in these prologues, because there is going to be a lot of prologues, let me tell you. But in these prologues, maybe I should have a topic I talk about that day. Because the prologues, once things actually get rolling, once I have everything with me that I need, I don't want them to be daily. Every day I can talk about a new thing for however long I can or need to. I know the first prologue was a little over 5 minutes long, but thinking about it now, I'm not even sure if I want to use the first prologue. Maybe after this one, maybe tonight, or maybe only the prologues I've recorded once I have everything in hand will I actually begin the prologues in earnest. So maybe up until then, which should take a couple days now, up until then, I'll just talk off the cuff, no topic, just getting better at talking. So maybe no one will hear these ever. Maybe right now when I'm talking, it means nothing. It'll never be heard. It'll be deleted. And there will be no evidence that I was ever very, very bad at talking on the mic. Something else I'm concerned about is mic quality, right? Because if there's something that people tend to care about a lot, it's audio quality. So if I need to improve my audio quality, I'd rather know it sooner rather than later. Because right now I'm recording on my phone, which I hear doesn't even have that bad of a microphone. But I think I want to get a somewhat decent mic, maybe a pop filter, because I want to sound at least decent. I mean, I know my voice is horrible and sounds like Satan's armpit, I'll go with, for lack of a better words, and since I can't think of what I'm trying to say, an armpit fart? I don't know, shut up. I know my voice isn't great, or at least I don't think it is. I've heard other people don't mind it, but who's to say, right? I don't like hearing the recording of it, and even speaking now, I can tell that I'm slurring words here and there. So maybe that's just something I have to work on, right? Maybe the more and more and more and more I talk, the more and more I'll slur less and pause less and know what to say next more. Because, gosh, it's made me pause and get mad and annoyed every single time I hear myself somewhat drag or slur my words. Because gosh, ain't that just the worst thing to listen to? Someone who sounds drunk all the time, talking. I couldn't think of anything worse. Another thing, am I gonna have to develop some voice? Like, am I gonna have a podcast voice that's different from my normal voice? Am I gonna have to talk in some accent or different tone? So, I don't know. Is that what people do? Is that what they do? Do they talk the same way on their podcasts as they do in real life? I have no idea. So, I don't know. I'll figure it out as I go. Of course I'm going to try to listen to most of these prologues back, just so I can see what I'm doing wrong or right, and try to cement that. I don't know. Even now, I don't know. I think as I'm recording this one, I think I'm getting at least a little bit better and a little bit quicker. But even as I say that, I start to struggle again. Because that's the funny thing. When you're trying not to struggle and you're trying to think of words on the spot, then you pause because you're thinking. So it has to be done without thinking, which normally I'm really good at. I can talk to someone for a long time without stopping. I just say what I think. But of course, in those situations, there are conversations going on. Despite how much I say I talk to myself, I don't actually talk to myself all that much. Or at least I don't do it out loud. Because if I were to have been doing it this whole time, then I'd probably be better at this. But as it goes on, I start to struggle and run out of things to say. Although, I don't know. I have periods where, I get in the groove and I'm doing good and I can talk for like a full minute without thinking about it. But then after, like, if there's 1 second of hesitation, if there's one moment where I'm not quite sure what to say next, then it fucks up everything. Also, something I'm looking forward to is, I'm going to be cursing a lot on this podcast. Well, not a lot, just I'm not going to be actively trying not to curse, because I don't believe in curse words. Of course, depending on the guest I have, I might choose to refrain for their sake. But if they don't mind, if they don't care, if they're cursing all the time, then I'm going to do that too. I don't care. It promotes free thought and free speech. It lets me get my thoughts out, and I don't have to think about not cursing. Because at this point, I just curse without thinking. I curse for humor, for all that fun effect stuff. So, I don't know. I don't think it's bad, but other people have other opinions. So, it looks like right now I can go on my own for around 11 minutes, and I'm going to try to go a little bit longer. But how much longer would that extend if I have somebody on? Of course, it's not going to be like, if you can talk by yourself for 11 minutes, then with someone else, you'll be able to talk for 22 minutes. It's not additive like that. I'm not sure if it's exactly exponential. It could be exponential if each of us talk for 11 seconds and we get 121 minutes. So, man, could I talk to someone for 2 hours? I don't know if it's that exponential. Maybe it's I don't know. I'll have to find out. I'd like to say I'd be able to talk for at least an hour. That's what I want to go for. Maybe half an hour to an hour. Long enough where we get a good idea of what we're talking about. But not so long that it drags on forever and ever and ever. So, I think what I'll do instead is I'll bring a person on, and I'll still think of things that I want to talk about and I want to discuss, but also let them talk about and discuss whatever it is they want to talk about. It's not exactly like I'll be giving each, podcast a theme. It's just nice to go into the conversation with something you want to talk about. In this case, it should probably be more focused on things that I know the person knows or has an opinion on. But, I just don't know what I'll do. Of course, it sounds easy. It sounds like I'll be able to, I'm always good at having conversations, even though, maybe my brain exaggerates how long those conversations last. Maybe my conversations don't last long at all. But, I don't know. Of course I would want this to be successful, but is it even a goal of mine? Of course, if it could be popular, that'd be fun and cool. But I also have to keep in mind what the main goal of this is, and the main goal is to help me get better at talking. So if that's the goal, then the specifics shouldn't really matter. I shouldn't be worrying so much about making sure it is the most marketable or making sure that the most people will like it. It's just about making sure I can talk well. Because right now I don't think I talk very well. But that's just my opinion. So, I think I'll try to go for 1 minute longer, see if I can get a good 15 minutes in, a good 15 minutes of just me talking. Because if I can get a good 15 minutes in, then I think I can feel pretty confident in my ability. Am I going to go for 15 minutes every single time? Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. This one, is it even going to count as one of them? Because it's really me just rambling. Should it even be listed under the podcast? Maybe these prologues will just be part of a vlog series. A series of vlogs I do, right? So if these are vlogs, then these can actually go out before I'm ready for the actual podcast. But if I'm waiting for the actual podcast, how am I gonna... I actually haven't figured out how I'm going to get the guest's, image involved in each one. Because I have me in my shop, me behind the bar doing my own thing, and a seat open for a person to come in. But am I gonna have, the original artist draw that person in? That's probably the best bet, but I could also... And this would only work for people who already have their own avatars, and those would be artists. And I doubt I'm gonna have, a large amount of artists on, so I'm gonna have to think of something different. Maybe I'll go back to Hachimaru and be like, hey, draw in a generic person, right? Just like a generic person. That would work, right? And then, on each one I could, put, a picture, on top or something, or their name tag. Right, so maybe what I'll do is I'll have, the picture, right? But maybe it'll be blurred, and then over top will be, writing that says Kinokast, episode whatever, and then the title can be across the screen, either the person's name, or, discussion with person, or maybe the title will be, I'll pick out one topic, I'll pull a Procrastinators podcast, where I pull out one topic we talked about, make that the title, with person. Maybe I'll do that. I think that could be the best option. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. And in that case, I'll actually put these up on there. Also, something else I didn't think through, but it's way, way, way too late by this time. Is the bathroom gonna make me sound echoey or something? I'll find out as soon as I'm done this recording, which will be in a few moments. But whatever. Episode 2 of the Prologue. It doesn't matter. It'll matter to me because it'll bother me. But whatever. It's fine and cool, and I don't give a fuck. Do you give a fuck? You person I'm talking to? One of the few people who are subscribed to me and who will also watch this. By the way, Garskar, happy to have you if you made it this far. And if you didn't make it this far, then you wouldn't know that I tried to say hi to you. So for me, it's a win-win either way. And with that being said, I think it is time to close this prologue to the podcast, the Kinokast. I'll think of an outro, but for now I'll say goodnight.